Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from Life on the Rocks, episode 13, with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is my good friend, Brandon Bazinet. How you doing, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Honestly, it's a pleasure to have Brandon on the show. This kid is an absolute stud. Just to get started, he's the owner of Spotty Athletics. So he's a young millennial entrepreneur, has his real estate license, is a recent graduate of Cambridge. This guy is an absolute force to be reckoned with. Seriously, I got a lot of energy, I got a lot of passion, but Brandon's going to be one of the big next hitters coming out. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm good, man. It's exciting. I've seen the show for a number of weeks now, and I've been just waiting for a chance for us to hit it off here. And it's exciting, but I've been good. Just finished school. Of course, I just started Spotty here, Spotty Athletics. About a month into that. Just taking it day by day. Just trying to be better than yesterday.
Absolutely. I want to ask you, so what got you started with the company? So Spotty Athletics, explain the name first. What's it mean?
So Spotty Athletics, Spotty is actually the Greek word for hustle.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So I was actually I do a lot of reading, right? Like I probably read a book, 2 books a week, and I was in a couple months ago, I was in like Greek mythology, and I was planning actually a backpacking trip in Europe, right? Wow. So I was over there, and then I was, the word just came to me, and it's hustle for Greek, and I was just like, wow, like I've been thinking of starting a clothing company, athletic wear, and I'm just like, the word, when I heard it, just stuck to me, and I was like, you know what?
Absolutely.
Like that's what it's good. That's gonna be the name of it. That's what it's gonna be called.
Or go ahead. You're gonna say something.
Yeah. So as far as starting it goes, me and my business partner Landon, he was in the same program as me at Cambridge, and we were learning all this stuff and spending all this money, and we were just like, at some point, you know what I mean? We gotta start applying this.
Execute it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was just an idea, and I was like, I've been really passionate about this idea of starting an athletic company, like clothing line, and he's just like, okay, I'd be down. And we started a couple designs on paper, and we wrote the name out, and we found a manufacturer. Next thing you know, we got a full clothing line, and we're working on the website, we're doing distribution.
It's huge.
And marketing.
And it's funny, I like it too. I was in the gym today, literally, and I seen your shirt. I'm literally going online. I've seen your shirt, and from a marketing standpoint, what you're doing, I think that's a great start to get into business. Everyone wears clothes every single day. Why not start a clothing line?
Yeah,
literally, that's how it looks like. That's how it manifested.
Exactly.
So Spotty, walk me through the logo here for a second. So yes, you wanted to keep it simple. Like walk me through this for a second.
Yeah, Landon, actually my business partner, he's not a graphic designer by any means, but we said let's sketch out some ideas and let's see what happens, right? You just got to try a few ideas and see what works, see what doesn't work. And we finally got to this, and I was like, you know what? Stop right there. Keep it simple. I love it. The S represents name. The circle, it just went well. And
absolutely.
Then we came up with the slogan, stretch your limits, and we decided we're going to build our base from that right there.
Exactly, and that's huge. And you're only 22 years old. So like I said, guys, he's got his real estate license. He's already started his clothing line. Are you in connection with Ryan Benoit by any chance?
Yeah, you know what? Ryan's actually a great guy. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely consider him one of my mentors. I actually sat down with him about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and he actually gave me
the ins and outs.
And he's like, this is what works for me when I started out. This is what didn't work for me.
Absolutely.
I think I definitely avoided some headaches, and down to earth, one of the greatest guys I could possibly meet. And the guy never stops.
I know,
he doesn't stop. Like he was telling me, like he wakes up, he writes a list of things to do, and he doesn't go to bed till it's done.
Absolutely, I love that. No, seriously. And the reason I asked that, especially being that he was in the trench too, starting his company throughout when not in high school, going into university. So I was like, oh, who's a better mentor? Just someone to look, for advice, look as a reference than him to start a company.
Oh my God.
How's it been so far? Like, is it getting difficult? What is the most difficult aspect of running this business?
Okay, so of course, you just roughly throw your first draft there. You get the first shipment of clothes in. We're dealing with a local supplier here, which is nice.
That is.
But the first 20 shirts we ordered, they flew off the shelves, right? That's your friends, that's your family, that's just people trying to support you, right? And I love it, right? I appreciate all the love they've been sending me. But then we started getting the people we didn't know, the traction. And then we're like, okay, like I don't know who this is, but they want a shirt, so okay, cool. And then it starts growing, and then we have people we don't know sending us photos of our stuff. I'm like, where did you get my shirt from? Like,
absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going, but then just growing past that part, you know what I mean? Because Sudbury's a good market, I love it.
Sure.
It's my hometown, but to grow, to actually have a business sustain itself, you have to grow, right?
Definitely.
So next steps were the website, getting distribution, getting the business license, getting business recognition.
Exactly.
It's you're doing all these things you learn about on paper in school, but then when you're actually doing it and you're in the trenches, it's a whole different
I know.
battle itself, you know what I mean?
You're sitting back, you're thinking, oh yeah, it should be that hard. I've read about this. So you get a lot of MBA students going out there, and no disrespect at all, you know what? But a lot of them, it looks a lot easier on paper until you're like, holy crap, someone just didn't show up for work. Like in your case, it's starting, right? So you're going to start to see this as it goes, or you're going out and it's like, oh, you have to deal with all these people. You're all of a sudden you're on the phone with somebody. They're like, oh, your shirts aren't going to be in until tomorrow. You're like, well, I have an order of people I told I was going to deliver to. All the headaches that go into business, but I guess that's what makes it fun, right? Especially so with a company like that, what I really like about it, like how are you hitting it in terms of marketing? So like you said, you have the website, Facebook. Obviously, word of mouth would be probably one of the most powerful things. They see it on your shirt.
Yes. At this point, I mean, we blew up the social media. We got the accounts going. The website's coming in, so we're going to get into the old SEO market.
Like this is brand new. Like literally, just so for anyone out there watching, like this is just relatively new.
I think this is 4 weeks in now.
4 weeks, like a month.
Yeah.
Look, I already see shirts when I'm in the gym. Seriously.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And then once we get our distribution, our website like set up, and that'll be that. And then later on, we'll try to get
get some more scale.
Get some more scale and.
Man, honestly, you've already done an exceptional job. So going off of that, just not to interject, I thought it was interesting. So like as you go, obviously, it's one of those things where you're gonna have your shirts all throughout the city of Sudbury. You're gonna be blowing up Sudbury similar to what Ryan did. Then you're gonna hit the online platform, right? That's where you start getting the big scale, right? I can imagine this brand. Same thing I tell Ryan. This is 4 weeks in. Okay, it's one of those things where you'll start getting the association, right? Marketing 101. It's like, okay, people are associating with this, with athletics. What I want to ask you then is, when are you going to start pitching to other companies, like in terms of like, so for instance, so if Mark's watching this, Mark Broadfoot of Boss Supplements, like this would be something I'm assuming eventually you guys are going to talk about having, and I'm just making an observation. Could be wrong, just saying. But you're obviously going to start wanting to put it in maybe some sports stores, other things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, that would be one of the next steps, if not the next step. At this point, we're just trying to get what we stand for out there. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to get brand recognition and people to understand, like, this logo, this name. It doesn't matter who you are or what you come from. Anybody can hustle. You know what I mean? Anybody can go work out, whatever your capabilities are, your limits are. You don't need to be a superstar, or a weightlifter, or a professional athlete to rep this. You know, we're just the everyday people who just, okay, let's stretch our limits. You know, let's go a little bit further than what we thought were and grow. And get better, right? So once we get more people knowing that story and we grow the brand a little bit and we get the online, then we would get into those kinds of steps. Yeah.
And that's the reason I asked that. I like to get the mind state behind it. So like obviously, because I know that's going to be a plan down the line. Mm-hmm. I was just curious. Like you guys are you're 4 weeks in and you're already killing it. Like it's one of those things where I can imagine the sales you pump through just starting it off. And like I said, I think there's a power behind the idea that I was literally in the gym this morning, Good Life, biggest gym in the city, and I saw your shirt that quick. Like literally within a 4 week span, like you see Ryan shirts everywhere, you see Boss shirts everywhere, but I figured like I never associated it that quick where I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of a local brand. Whereas you, being that you are a friend of mine, being that I watch you on social media, I was like, holy crap, like it's already out there. And then goes with the mentality that we're both hustlers. So what I'm trying to interject here for everybody out here, there's been a little bit of controversy around the idea of being a hustler or you're a hustler. So when I went to Tony Robbins a number of months ago, Pitbull was on stage and he said this. He said, all an entrepreneur is a hustler. So people have the wrong association. They're like, oh, well, you don't, this hustle mentality, you got to work hard, you got to do this, you got to be out there going that. Well, that's a load of crap. Well, no. Think about it. Think about any of the greatest icons you see today. And I mean, you're a heavy reader. You know, they had to hustle, they had to execute, they had to do these things. How important do you think it is to have that hustler mentality, Brandon?
At the end of the day, I mean, it's all that matters. Because if first of all, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to work. You're not going to do it because if you don't care about it, it gets to a certain point. Like I'm even starting to notice, like the traction, the first few weeks, the friends and family. After that stopped, it slowed down a little bit. But if I wasn't passionate about this, it got very hard for a few days, for a few weeks there. And if I didn't enjoy what I was doing, I wouldn't have kept doing it, right? Because
absolutely.
If you're not enjoying what you're doing, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, you sit there going, why are you showing up? You know?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right? Anybody can work hard, but it's. I think the biggest part is, can you do it day in and day out consistently? You know what I mean? And the only way you are able to do that is if you're passionate about it. So, I mean, hustle. Everybody's got hustle in them, but to actually find something you're passionate about to hustle about. That's what I think people need to spend some time figuring out. Like I didn't just wake up and say 4 weeks ago, you know, today I'm going to start a clothing line. 6 months ago, I had the idea in my head. I'm just like tweaking the idea day in and day out. This is not an overnight process or a 30-day thing, you know what I mean? It's been in my head, I've been working on it, tweaking the ideas. I had 10 different names for this.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Slogans, I mean, I probably had 100 different ones, you know what I mean? Emailing different distributors in China, guys in Ontario, Vancouver. Before I finally found one, I was happy to find one locally, obviously. So it's a process, you know? And actually, is what you mentioned, Ryan and Positive Inception.
Yeah.
He didn't start overnight. You know what I mean? This was just the cool thing is it was just an idea in his head. He wanted to grow positivity, right? And he started this, and it slowly grew, and now it's international. You see people wearing his stuff all over the world.
It's crazy.
I saw a photo he posted yesterday. Someone wearing it next to the Eiffel Tower. You know what I mean?
I know.
But it just goes to show he didn't do it overnight. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He could have gave up how many times? You know what I mean? It's his passion that kept him going. You can have hustle, but unless you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter.
It's so true, and right off of that point, Brandon, you hit the nail. And it's Tony Robbins' mentality where he says, passion equals energy. And then, like we said before we got in this interview, it's like we better bring the fire extinguishers because we're two passionate guys. And it's funny, Tony Robbins would actually frame this mentality. I think for anybody watching this out there, it's so important. We're the type of guys, when we walk into a room, it's Tony would say, people are walking in the room, oh, how do you feel today? I feel like crap. And everyone relates to that. And then some guy walks in the room like me, excuse me, I'm not trying to point at myself. I'm walking in, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Big jolly guy. And people are like, what kind of drug is that guy on? What's he on? Why? Or Tony would say, take him to the funny farm. Isn't that bad in society that, you have a select majority that are aiming on the wrong side? The majority that has that average belief that's like, well, I can't do this, I can't create it. But right now, are you not thinking your own thoughts? So Brandon took that thought from his mind, created it, bring it into the physical world. It's the same premise. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because that's the thing. When I started door-to-door, when I started selling door-to-door, for anyone that doesn't know, I had that background for about 5 months. I literally didn't close a deal for probably the first 2-3 months. I was sitting there lucky I had some support mechanisms in place, or else I would have literally been selling to survive. And it's one of those things, right, where you got to get in there and do those things. So going off of this, I know I go on my white girl tangent, just kidding. How do you feel about the importance of sales as a generator for your business? Because if you don't sell, the business is going to sink. What generates a business? What grows a business? You need money in there. How do you feel about the idea of sales and the stigma associated with it?
As far as the whole topic of sales go, I mean, I have, like you said, I have my real estate license. I spent a few months in real estate, so I learned the ins and outs. I read books,
You read more than me, man.
I think I've read a dozen sales books. I had a sales class 2 semesters ago in school.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I've done my experience of sales, and I've been out there selling too, right? But everybody has this misconception about sales. Sales, at the end of the day, I think the way I look at it is you're just telling a story. You're just offering value, okay? If you have a product or you do a service or whatever it is that you're out there to give, if you truly believe in it, it's your moral obligation to offer it to somebody. If
Grant Cardone mentality right there. Go on.
Yeah, Grant. At the end of the day, if they see the good, the ins and outs of your product, and they don't want it, that's fine. You know what I mean? It wasn't for them in the first place. Then you obviously wouldn't want them to spend the money on it. But most of the time, once people see what your product offers, the value, the features and the benefits of it, they'll love it. You know what I mean? Exactly. So at the end of the day, sales, it's really just marketing. You're just telling the story of your brand, what your product does, what you offer, what you bring to the table. That value is really what matters the most. That's all sales is just showing the value, right? So obviously there's pushy salesmen out there.
Yeah, the greasy ones like me. I'm just kidding like me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not like that. No.
Yeah, the ones that they'll sell anything to anybody regardless if they need it or not. And that ruins the game for everybody else. Sure. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of good, hard-working people out there. So as far as sales goes for your business, you need it or else you won't survive. At the end of the day, just tell what the story's about. You know what I mean? Just let people know what you offer, what value you as a person and your brand bring to the table.
No, I think that's a huge observation too, to get into that mind, because like I say, the majority of people, we aren't taught these skills. Anybody can be taught how to sell. I can take someone in and teach them. My brother can take someone in and teach them. But it's one of those things. It comes off the aspect of communication. Everything is communication, verbal or unverbal, right? I want to give you guys a story, and I want to tell Brandon this too, because it's kind of funny. So imagine this for a second, guys. So being that I said, I graduated university, I went right into the trench, started selling door to door, started a company with my brother. Here's the funny thing, guys. I would have never realized this. And like I said in my speech, I should have wore steel-toe boots because I had so many doors slammed on my face. It's like this. You walk up to that door. As soon as they open that door, they see the suit on. They're either thinking, is this a Mormon? Or is this guy trying to pitch me and sell me something? So right off the bat, you have that stigma associated with it. So then you have to frame it. So it's a very tough reality. But what I'm going to tell you is that even I did a 5-month skit, it taught me a lot about the fact that this is how you're going to deal with people. Everything is sales. And the thing is, the word sales is associated with, oh, they're going to just try to take my money, this. Yes. But no, you're going to offer the value, like Brandon said, and bring it forward. And I think that's so important. So, so going off of that, I was just going to cross over with the real estate side.
Yeah.
What are you looking into with that?
I got my license last year. I finished that. Did it all online while I was at Cambrian, and I was working at the time. So it took me a bit of time to do, but the beauty of it is you can do it all online.
22, you got it done. I love it.
Yeah. I was just turning 21 when I finished it.
Really?
Yeah. I dropped out of school a couple semesters ago. I did a small stint at Remax for 3 or 4 months. At the time, it wasn't for me.
For sure.
Even today, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back into that by any means. I like the idea of investing in real estate. I think it's a great idea, especially once you do some research into it. My dad has properties.
Nice.
I know a lot of other people that have properties as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing to be into. As far as the short term goes, I don't really see myself going into it anytime soon, but I'd like to always have that door open. And
definitely.
I definitely learned a lot from when I was actually in it. So
I can imagine too, and you are the typical young millennial entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Where you could have the real estate background, you go this way. You're a very versatile young man in the sense that you're going to transition. I could see you, you're going to take this company, then watch, you're going to go start something else. Some brilliant idea is going to come out with inventing something, and then you'll go ahead with that. Is that how you feel?
You know what? At this age, I'll get into it.
Talk about it. I want to digress. Talk about this for a moment.
So I mean, I'm 22 right now. I just finished school, right? There's like almost a little
smart guy too, by the way. Just
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
22, right? So this is the first time in my entire life that I haven't had school or I haven't been on break going to school. And there's a number of other people my age or around my age that are in that same situation, right? And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I was scared. The last couple of weeks, it was scary, right? You didn't know what to do. But now it's kind of exciting because now I came to this thought. I was just like, now's the time for me to try all these new ideas. Now's the time to take risks. It's not time to play it safe, you know what I mean? There's lots of times when I'm older, in my late 20s, like if I want to settle down, buy the house, have the family, have the mortgage, I can do that later. But now's the time I want to start businesses, I want to chase ideas, I want to travel, I want to do the things that I'll never be able to do later, right? Because there's nothing more worse than I think having a life of regret, saying I wish I would have done this when I was in my 20s, right?
You're totally right.
And at the end of the day, how can I say this is what I want to do the rest of my life, the next 30, 35 years, if I haven't gone out and experienced these things and left my comfort zone and tried new things, you know what I mean? How can you say you want to live in one spot the rest of your life if you haven't seen what else is out there, you know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
Or how can I say I want to be in this industry if I haven't tried all these other ones, if I haven't put my foot in the water, if I haven't spontaneously done this adventure, you know what I mean, and grew.
Yeah, and get to experience life in that sense, get to meet those people from different cultures. I think that's actually so important to grow. And even like last year, I was like similar mentality, Brandon, where we can really relate is a sense like when I graduated university, the whole plan was law school. So you're going to go to law school, and I'm like, I don't feel like going to court. And I'm not the type of guy to sit in front of a judge and kind of sit there and try to articulate my point in that kind of regard. I was the same as you, millennial entrepreneur style. And that was one of the hardest things, was getting started and saying, holy crap, like I got to make my own money. And then it went to that point where I finally, I left my job at TD Bank and went all in. And that was one of the toughest decisions because I told myself it was a psychological thing where I'm like, hey, I'm going to go all in and do this. And it's the same where you're going to get to that point, and you already are, because you're doing 20 things, and I love it. Like a lot of people say, they're like, oh, well, you got to focus on a few things. But at this age, I think, as long as you have, from a marketing point, I'm Brandon, let's say, okay, I'm Brandon, and then you have a few things that go out, but they all come back to the brand. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important thing, opposed to just saying, well, I'm going to focus on just this one thing, where there'll be probably about 20 other people that do it. Like, it is good. Like my buddy Mark Lack said, if he's watching, the specialists get paid more than generalists. But I think it's awesome to kind of diversify yourself, see what you like, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and absolutely. I can't. I believe in that comment. You just said so much. At the end of the day, you have to specialize, but that's at the end of the day. You know what I mean? At the start of the day, you got to try things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how will you know what you want to specialize in until you've tried these things? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're 23, turning 24.
Yeah, turning 24. Yeah.
You're a couple of years older than me. You're still doing these things. You're still starting businesses. You haven't found, or maybe you have found, but you're still putting your foot in the water, you know what I mean?
Touching the waters, feeling it. Yeah.
I feel like you're diving into something new every day. You know what I mean? But you're you're so much farther ahead than if you would have just done law school and then 5 years, 10 years down the line, been like, wow, I don't want this. I'm 30 years old. I have a bit of savings. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. I wish I would have done this when I was 24. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
No, you're exactly right. And here's a funny one for you guys out there watching. I got tanked last year, right around this time in May. I signed with one of the top 20 publicists in the world. Guess what happened, guys? $8,000 down the toilet, flush of my own money. Just like that, went into debt just because of stupidity like that. But you know what? I learned. I came back. I had a very hard time coming back from that. And then we transitioned, finished school, went into the other aspect. So I think that's another thing where we can go on. But transitioning here, because I know we're going on a lot of topics, a lot of energy. How did you get your start? So you started your business like this, but before, Brandon was actually a junior A hockey player. Like, you were right under the OHL, right?
Yeah.
So talk about this, like, as an athlete. So that's where the company, you know, kind of stems. You see his identity, the brand identity.
Yeah.
Talk about this.
Okay, so I've always been, I think I started on skates when I was 3 years old.
Literally. Coming right out of the boom on skates. Yeah.
Grade 12, I signed with Blind River Beavers junior A hockey team. Yeah, so 17, left home, just split decision like that. You know what? Why not, right?
Yeah.
And it turned out I had a great year. I led the league in points as a rookie.
Wow.
We had a great year. And then actually one of my teammates had a dad who was a scout out in New Brunswick, and he knew a guy in Nova Scotia, which was the same level, but the hockey's a bit
more aggressive?
It's more aggressive, it's a lot quicker, and it's an older league, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a lot of those ex-QMJHL, ex-OHL players, so it's a lot faster. So I said, you know what? I've never been to Nova Scotia before, why not, right? Let's see what happens. Worst case scenario, I could always come home. After, I think, the first day, so I loved it out there, and then I invited some friends out, and my buddy Jacob Smith ended up going out there. Anyway, so I played out there for a year and a half, won a championship, and then concussions. I got 5 of those in, I think, a three-year span.
Wow.
And then my last 18 months of hockey, or 10 months of hockey, it was 10 months, yeah, I got 3 in the last 10 months. So at that point, it was like,
wow.
Brandon, you're 19, you got the rest of your life to, you know what I mean, live.
Exactly.
The NHL's not knocking on your door at this point, you got to make a decision.
You don't want to lose your head, especially the biggest faculty you have.
Yeah, so exactly,
No,
exactly,
sure.
that's what it is. So I came home, that was Christmas. It was tough at first, you know what I mean? You finish playing hockey, this is the thing you're doing since you're like 4 years old.
Definitely.
So 15 years of my life just like gone, I didn't know what to do. Anyways, I ended up getting like a business book for my mom for Christmas. And
Yeah.
finished that, and then I read another one, and then I read another one, and then next thing you know, I was reading a book, 2 books a week. I already enrolled in my real estate.
Turned into Ty Lopez, and I'm just kidding. Go on.
Yeah. Ended up cold calling a guy at Remax, asking for an interview at 19. Just, hey man, I respect you. I think you have a great team. Can I come work for you? I ended up working for him for a few months. Again, it was a great experience. Wasn't for me. Again, I tried it. Ended up going to Cambridge, finished my real estate license online. Just graduated. Now I'm here today.
You're an absolute force, literally.
Just trying to
getting started, man.
Just trying to figure out what interests me and take the bull by the
What
horns.
markets you're going to hit, right? And like I said, you got the clothing line. So before we're going to close this interview, being that you talk a lot about books, you know, books are such an important thing. They get the mind thinking. They fix your language out. They're going to give you different words to use, all this other stuff. I find, you know, if I didn't start reading books, like, it's funny, I never read my university texts or my law documents, all this stuff. I was always reading books. I'm sitting in my 3rd year law class, criminal law. I'm reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Remember we were talking about this one time?
Yeah, I love that book.
So give people out there, what are your top 3 books? So I'm going to drop mine on you really quick.
Okay.
Celestine Prophecy, Awaken the Giant Within, and the 50th Law. For anyone out there, go ahead.
50. Okay, I actually got to get that one off you. I wanted to read that.
For sure.
Yeah. For me, obviously, How to Make Friends, How to Influence People and Win Friends.
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, great one. You learn so much about how people are just doing what they think's best. You know what I mean?
So true.
Next one by far, 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. It's the new rich, the new millennial movement. The guy's a genius at it.
He's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third one, I'm gonna have to say Jack Welch, Winning.
Winning. I've never read that one.
Yeah, he was the CEO of GM for about decades and decades, and he did a big grow. Just the way he conducted his business and grew it and just dealt with people. It was, if you're interested in business, I would definitely recommend those 3.
Well, it's huge. And it's funny because I've been watching Brandon online for, a year now, and I'm watching the bookshelf. Every couple of weeks, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I'm actually out of space now. I need a bigger one.
I'm going to build you one. I'm going to build you another area.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good. I like that too, because books, like I said, it's the knowledge you're going to gain out of university. Here's another thing for you guys off of that point. I think this is something, an observation you'll really like. One of the things that distinguished me in university, which I always say, is that people were always aiming in this one bracket. They're all just trying to get the high marks, trying to go in the same groups, trying to do this. It's all the same. I differentiated myself. I was doing a lot of that kind of stuff, but I tried, I was a writer. I'm not saying I wrote good books or anything. I just put my ideas on paper, and I started writing books. I started becoming on boards of associations.
You have 2 books now. You're writing a third one. You're working on your third?
Third one, yeah, PhD in rejection.
I read your last one, actually. It was good.
I appreciate that, yeah.
It really opens up the way of thinking.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
For sure.
No, for sure, and that's what distinguished me in school, is that too many people focus on, the marks, this and that, the stuff we're sold, and I focused on the other stuff, and that was able to give me a different bullet in my arsenal. So even if my books weren't good or whatever it was, which I think, the second one I hit it really home. First one was just a lot of observations, but I put it out there, heart and soul, passion, whatever. And but it was one of those things when I was in that school, I was doing a lot of different stuff that people weren't doing, and that's another point for anyone out there. Do those different things. You started a company like that. People are going to see that.
You know what? When you're different, it means you're trying something worthwhile. You know what I mean? You're always going to have people. You're always going to have haters. You're always going to have people that are going to say, why are you wasting your time with this? You were, actually, my sister mentioned you one time. I guess you walked into her communications class. She's like, who's this guy in a suit? I'm like,
yeah.
Well, that's my buddy Connor, yeah.
You just got out the door. No, I'm just kidding. No.
But you know what I mean? Like, you got to, it's okay to be different. You know what I mean? Because that means, like, you're doing what you want to do. You're always going to be, no matter what you do, there's always going to be people out there talking you down. So you might as well do what you want to do.
That's it. Here's the thing with that, too, is that, so many people are focusing on the negative. Why not focus on the positive? So from like the psychological wavelength thing, people...
Your alarm or...
How did that even... Give me a second, I don't know how that went. But yeah, like... Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That shows, But yeah, no... yeah, so everyone's thinking on the one side, so why not think on the opposite? Yeah. I think that's so important, honestly, at the end of the day. To leave this interview with something, Brandon, what can we expect from you, my friend?
In the future?
Tell it right into the camera.
In the future, you know what? I'm just going to be trying things. I'm obviously going to be growing this day in and day out. At the end of the day, I wish everybody would just figure out what they want to do. Try random things, take adventures, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid of change, and just find that thing that you love and chase it till
it's huge.
Till you run out of steam at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man. Honestly, I want to start us to close this off by saying you've done a remarkable job. Honestly, I look up to you, man, as someone going out there, someone in the trench. I really look up to you as someone. You guys are going to see this guy be a heavy hitter within today's world. Seriously, total millennial entrepreneur. Brandon, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're seriously like my brother handshake? Yeah, that's good.
Love it, dude.
I love
it.
Anytime.
Take care, guys.